Hi everyone, and welcome back to the channel. If manifestation hasn't really been working for you, I want to bring in kind of a real take in what manifestation has really been all about this whole time. The concept of manifestation has really lost its value over time because of social media. Are you truly embodying yourself through manifestation, or if you are using manifestation as a way to feed into other people's dreams or to feed on other people's expectations of you? And we need to fully understand that manifestation is not about other people, but it is about our own true essential nature and arriving deeper and deeper into our core human elements. I truly believe that manifestation is not about fulfilling other people's external expectations of us, but it is a true embodiment of who we really are on the inside. And the process of letting things go, letting go of old programs, old systems, to help you embody, embrace your true depth as a human being is what manifestation is about. So I really want to share my own relationship with manifestation and how much that has changed over time. So when I first learned about The Secret, I was able to bring in a lot of amazing, crazy things through simply the mindset of optimism, the mindset of positivity, gratitude, and actually tapping into the feelings of abundance even when I wasn't living that life in my external reality. So I followed that, and it had brought so many miraculous things. It brought me more friends. It brought me a really crazy job opportunity that I never thought that I was qualified for, but I still ended up getting it. And I was able to increase my financial thermostat because I do believe that everyone has a set amount that they allow themselves to earn. And the amount that I had in my bank account was significantly more than I had ever imagined. And that whole phase in my life just worked out so beautifully for a certain amount of time. And then during that time, I went through a slump, and then I went into an even higher timeline where I was living in a new city. I had met the love of my life at the time. I manifested another job that was, again, so far outside of what I thought I was capable of, but I manifested it anyways, and I met my two best friends in that whole summer. And that summer has been one of the most transformational because I was starting to really tap into who I am at my core. And I dove really deep into the concepts, and I asked life's biggest questions about why I'm here, why I had created the life that I had in front of me right now, and how am I meant to create more in my life. And I used social media as a way to also find new tools or new manifestation techniques. But when you carry this insane obsession of what manifestation can do for you, you become very wrapped up in speed. And being wrapped up in speed means that you're forcing the universe to bring you the things that you want at a certain time frame. And the universe does not react well to certain time frames or to having a very strict timeline of when things need to happen. And when we control the timeline, we often are doing that from a place of lack, from a place of needing more in our lives. It led me to force a lot of feelings that did not feel true to me. And the whole 2 years of mastering what manifestation is had really taken a huge toll in my mental health, because I do believe that a lot of what is taught on social media, what is taught in the modern spirituality community, has really taken away the meaning of what manifestation is about. So at its core, manifestation is about realizing and finally seeing and experiencing your wholeness as a human being. When you experience wholeness as a human being, you're able to experience the wholeness in your life. And that is the definition of abundance. Abundance isn't about, oh, how would it feel if I had $1 million? Of course, that feeling would feel abundant, but it also gives you the messaging. You're like, okay, I can feel abundant, but then when I open my eyes, I know I don't have $1 million. I know I don't have the thing that I visualize. And then you kind of return back to your reality and you think, oh, so that was all a dream. That wasn't meant to be happening. And you kind of go back to your own routines, your own systems, your own beliefs, and you just, like, nothing changes. And as I was becoming more obsessive with what manifestation could do for me and forcing the emotions of abundance until I actually felt it, it created a greater distance and a greater gap between my life and the dream life that I wanted, because it really came from a place of force and it took away what manifestation was really about. And the reason why I felt so disconnected from the life that I am currently living now versus the dream life that I've always wanted, it was because I was living in a place of delusion. Now, before you click out of this video, I know that on social media, people have manifested things because they were delusional. But you also have to start being honest with yourself about the feelings that you were feeling instead of just being positive all the time. And how I see positivity in the position of manifestation is that positivity, gratitude, all of these things are very important pillars to manifestation. And I like to see them as fuel. They act as fuel to bring you closer to the direction that you want to go. But if that direction is not where you want to go, yet you are forcing these positive feelings, forcing gratitude, and forcing emotions that are not actually happening, you create an even greater disconnect from your inner self, from your higher self. And then that disconnect translates to more frustration of not bringing in the thing that you want. So I went through a very, very dark place in my life where I was running away from the dark feelings, and it had led me to essentially implode. And I just thought to myself, like, I can't keep living like this. I can't keep living like I am living this super happy life, and I can't keep lying to myself about the emotions that I have really been bottling up inside for the sake of manifesting faster. And life is a co-creative process between you and the universe. And that also means taking responsibility of the emotions that are arising for you. And emotions are sacred messages from your intuitive self, either guiding you to a place where you're meant to be or telling you that you're off course right now. You need to redirect yourself to this timeline. You need to redirect yourself to this direction. And we can't keep running from these feelings of heaviness, of depression, of anxiety, when these are actually very clear messages of things that we need to start being honest with ourselves. Manifestation isn't about just honoring the light, but it's also about honoring the dark as well, honoring the inner child work, honoring the healing, honoring the voices and what are some of the programs that are stopping us from reaching our true potential. And it's this ever-evolving process where we also need to focus on gratitude, on love, and the feelings of joy, but also paying attention to the intuitive nudges that are telling us that we're not living in our highest alignment. The universe craves balance. So the more that you resist those emotions, you resist your patterns, the more that you resist life, the more that pendulum is going to swing back the other way, and it's going to completely break down essentially the foundations that you thought were solid. But it's that the more that you reject that resistance, the more that it will manifest in your life in one way or another. You can't keep ignoring your power. You can't keep ignoring the sadness of not living in your highest timeline. And it's that nature will always drive you or try to push you back to the path that you were meant to be. And going back to my personal experience, when you work against resistance and you pretend like everything's fine, you pretend that life is going good, you pretend to feel positivity because you believe that you can trick the universe to feel that way and to manipulate the universe to work in your favor, the universe can see past all of that. And as a result, it had led me to growing a very misaligned business, and it created a lot of burnout and a lot of disconnection because that just wasn't my true nature. I also attracted a lot of friendships that did not really align with me and didn't really understand me as a human being. I also felt like I was just very alone, because a lot of the books also teach you that if you are truly enlightened, or if you are truly on the path of healing, that you don't need people. I think manifestation books can also make your life very isolating, because a lot of them tell you that if you can't be happy in your own solitude, you're not actually happy. So I also think it creates a really dangerous dynamic where we become avoidant to the people that love us most, and it creates the sense that we need to be happy, and it creates this really dangerous narrative that we as human beings need to be alone. But in this human experience, if you've ever experienced being in a group of people that you just feel so much love with, being in a group of people where they just understand you and love you, that kind of dynamic is really what life is all about. After truly facing my darkness, the feminine, and coming to terms and looking at those subconscious programs in the eye, I was truly able to re-experience myself again, and I found myself again. And because I had essentially broke through these narratives, I had found this new sense of confidence, this new sense of purpose, of waking up knowing what I need to do, also feeling this sensational energy and attracting opportunities along the way. And that had created a whole new timeline for me just by being honest about how I was feeling. And manifestation and really moving forward in your timeline requires yin and yang. It requires the light, it requires gratitude, positivity, and love, but we also need to face the dark. And the dark is where we come to terms with what our programs are, what emotions are bottling up, and what wants to come up in the surface. What emotions do we want to feel more of? And are we giving those emotions permission to really be expressed rather than trying to bottle it up and trying to be positive all the time? I want to provide some ways and some practical tools to help you honor your feminine and to start honoring the self, your intuitive self, that is just dying to come out. So number one is to devote at least an hour a day to journal, to meditate, and to let yourself vent out all of the thoughts and feelings that are bottling up in your body. And we also need to give ourselves permission to express even the ugliest thoughts and energies that we feel. And the more that we are honest about even the ugliest parts of us, the more that we can accept and love that part of us, because that's all we really want from ourselves. These emotions just want love and compassion from you and not from anybody else. So use this time to listen to yourself and honor the raw emotions that you have been feeling on a day-to-day basis. The second tip is to write out your emotions throughout the day. So I listened to this in a Dr. Huberman podcast, and he did invite a speaker, and he explained that the more granular we can describe our emotions, the more specific we are, the greater ability we have to release them. If you feel sad, describe why you're feeling sad. Describe how it feels to be sad. Where do you feel it in your body? What color does it look like? What shape does it look like? And when we can become more specific around our experience with that emotion, the more we're able to see it as it is, which is an emotion. So use a notepad to help you record down your feelings throughout the day, and you're able to see how much quicker you're able to work through those emotions and to just fully acknowledge them. Number 3 is to be fully honest, but to also fully love and accept those feelings. I have been taught in my own childhood that you should never accept what isn't working well in your life. Why would you accept something about yourself that you hate so much? But as I have tried that methodology of rejecting myself around things that I hated about myself, it was actually so much harder to change those aspects of my life or those aspects of my personality. And it actually created a perpetual pattern of redoing the same thing that I was resisting. me. So I experimented for a month what self-acceptance is really going to do for me. And it had helped me live more in alignment. And self-acceptance has been one of the most common sense things that isn't actually very common sense. So accept your emotions and accept where you're at in your life. Accept the challenges, accept your flaws, accept that you are not perfect and you never will be, but accept that that's just who you are. And when we accept our ugly thoughts, when we accept the ugly part of us, we end up evolving into so much more self-assured, confident, and high vibrational beings because we're no longer controlled or manipulated by the sense of lack, because we enter into full wholeness when we start to accept the fullness in us. Some things that I also want you to be aware of that the spiritual community has also placed such a huge emphasis on is that life is a mirror, which is true. A big misconception to the theory of life is a mirror is that we can overanalyze what that means for us. And we think of a lot of our life's circumstances in a very granular way. We always hear that we need to be responsible for our lives. Whatever consequences or situations that we get into that is not in our favor is a result of something that's unhealed within us. It may not always be that black and white. We may not always attract that car accident or that health issue because we were not living in our highest alignment or we were just so negative that day. And a really great example is Dr. Joe Dispenza. So for those of you who don't know Dr. Joe Dispenza, he is a thought leader, speaker, and he also helps teach people how to heal their bodies by simply their minds and using his meditations to help people rewire and build a greater life of alignment. And his origin story was that he was biking and he got ran over by a truck. So what the spiritual community would say, well, half of the spiritual community would say, was that he was probably very negative throughout the day and he had attracted that truck to hit him. And you can see how if he had that mindset, he would be in a place of self-blame. So what I'm trying to get at here is that if things aren't working in your favor or in your timeline, or if negative things are happening, never think of that situation as your temporal self, and to always think about how your higher self is experiencing this situation. Because your higher self will always see opportunities of learning, experiential learning opportunities in every situation. But your temporal self is always trying to question what are the things that you are doing wrong. And negative things that happen in our lives, it may not always be as self-blaming as you may think. And that there are also two fine things to juggle. It's like the sense of self-healing, but it's also this understanding that it is your higher self that may have placed you in this situation, in this life, in this room or wherever you're in this job, in this health condition, to have you learn a very important lesson. And that lesson is all about aligning back to who you truly are. So whether it's self-healing or whether it is your higher self arranging this sort of circumstances that you are deeming as negative, it's all about returning to love and returning to who you are at your core. Stop labeling your life experiences as good or bad, but instead of asking, how am I a match to this? Think about, what can I learn from this? What is my highest self trying to teach me in this moment? And what can I extract and what I need to learn about myself? And that narrative is so much more in a place of empowerment rather than a place of self-blame. And when you focus too much on being an energetic vibrational match to something, you create a dynamic where you are operating from a place of toxic positivity. And that is also harmful in its own way because you're still manifesting within your subconscious limitations. Thank you so much for listening to this video. And if you didn't take anything away from this, the one thing that I want you to really give yourself permission to experience is to experience your dark darkness and to experience your emotions in the most raw and authentic way. And when we have a more unfiltered and authentic yet raw relationship with ourselves, we become so much more liberated and we're able to manifest faster because we're no longer judging the emotions that come up, but instead we are acting from a place of integrity and acceptance and more freedom when we choose to accept the negative and to accept the ugly parts of ourselves that we think we need to judge. So thank you so much for joining me in this episode or this video, and I hope to see you soon. Bye!